on Favorited and on YouTube. Today we are going to go over some world hunger myths. This is from Food First Backgrounder. And we're just going to get started here. So if anyone has any questions, go ahead and stop me. But I'm just going to start reading and we'll see how far we get today. We may turn this into a two-parter, probably do 5 today and 5 tomorrow. So, all right. How do we think about hunger matters? How we think about hunger matters. In troubled times, all of us seek ways to make sense of the world. We grasp for organizing beliefs to help us interpret the endlessly confusing rush of world events. Unfortunately, however, the two of us have come to see the way people think about hunger is the greatest obstacle to ending it. So in this backgrounder, we encapsulate 40 years of learning and in-depth new research to reframe 10 such ways of rethinking explored in our latest book, World Hunger, 10 Myths. We call them myths because they often lead us down blind alleys or simply aren't true. Okay, so myth 1, too little food, too many people. Our response. Abundance, not scarcity, best describes the world's food supply. Even though the global population more than doubled between 1961 and 2013, the world produces around 50% more food for each of us today, of which we now waste about a third. Even after diverting roughly half of the world's grain and most soy protein to animal feed and non-food uses, the world still produces enough to provide every human being with nearly 2,900 calories a day. Clearly, our global calorie supply is ample. Increasingly, however, calories and nutrition are diverging as the quality of food in most parts of the world is degrading. Using a calorie deficient standard, the UN estimates that today roughly 1 in 9 people are hungry, about 800 million. But adding measures of nutrient deficiencies as well, we estimate that a quarter of the population suffer from nutritional deprivation. Food scarcity is not the problem, but the scarcity of real democracy protecting people's access to nutritious food is a huge problem. So fighting hunger means tackling a concentrated political and economic power in order to create new equitable rules. Otherwise, hunger will continue no matter how much food we grow. Hey, Liz. Sorry I was a little bit late. Ashton called. Ashton's mom's husband passed away yesterday. So she's fine. She doesn't care, but she cares. You know what I mean? She's like in the middle of damage control and handling things and like taking care of her mom and stuff like that. So she's emotionally fine about the passing. It's just the fallout that has come with it. Everything's kind of been put on her. So anyways, myth 2, climate change makes hunger inevitable. Yeah. Our response. Climate change is no myth. It already means crop losses from drought and the expansion of pests into new regions. The World Food Program forecasts the number of malnourished children to increase by 24 million by 2050, or about 1/5 more than without climate change. These expert observations form a powerful call to action, but they are a far cry from a verdict that hunger and famine are inevitable. Thank you. We can instead decide that climate change is an opportunity for instigating positive change. Because the global food system is insufficient and inequitable, we have plenty of room to increase available food before we hit Earth's actual limits. Fortunately, changes in food and farming that best address climate change are precisely those that most benefit the world's hungry people, the environment, and everyone's health. If remade, our food system has unique capacities to help rebalance the carbon cycle by cutting emissions and storing more carbon in the soil. Climate-friendly farming practices are low cost and especially benefit low-scale farmers and farm workers, who are the majority of the hungry people. While climate disruption is now inevitable, vulnerability is largely under human control. As we correct the severe inequities and inefficiencies in our food system, we can ensure that no one goes hungry as we face the climate challenge, which obviously is not happening. So, yeah. Myth 3, only industrial agriculture and GMOs can feed the world. Our response. Industrial agriculture relies on patented seeds, manufactured fertilizers and pesticides, and large-scale machinery. We're talking like Monsanto. The production increases of industrial agriculture are no myth, but this model of farming is not sustainable and has already proven unable to end hunger. With a narrow focus on production, it fails to take into account the web of relationships, both those among people and those involving the natural world, that determine who can eat. The industrial model also ends up accelerating the concentration of control over land and other resources that lies at the root of the hunger and of vast environmental damage. Tightening control of land is also true in the United States, where farms are being squeezed out so that only 4 farms remain today for every 10 in 1950. And despite the vast output of U.S. industrial agriculture, 1 in 6 Americans is food insecure. Worldwide, the model's unsustainability shows up. For example, in topsoil eroding at the rate of 13 to 40 times faster than nature can replenish it. And the runoff of chemical fertilizers has created more than 400 aquatic dead zones. While industrial agriculture has not ended hunger, fortunately, there are proven pathways, such as agroecology, that help to end hunger by protecting the environment while enhancing equity, food quality, and productivity. Okay, myth number 4. We might actually be able to get through all of these today. I try to do like 30-minute lives, so. Myth number 4, organic and ecological farming can't feed a hungry world. Our response. In many parts of the world, organic farming practices that minimize or forego manufactured pesticides and fertilizers are proving effective. Building on this, an approach called agroecology involves much more than the absence of chemicals. Agroecology is an evolving practice of growing food within communities that is power dispersing and power creating, enhancing the dignity, knowledge, and capacities of all involved. Agroecology thus helps to address the powerlessness at the root of hunger. It builds on both traditional knowledge and accrued over millennia by peasants and indigenous people, and the latest breakthroughs in modern science. Its practices free farmers from the dependency on corporate suppliers and thus reinforce the dispersion of power, including for women. So this is kind of like Heathrow kind of does a form of that. You know, he's growing his own food. He's mostly organic. Yeah. While some studies indicate that industrial agriculture produces higher yields than these alternative practices, many small farmers using ecological farming in the global south are enjoying yield increases, some quite dramatic. In any case, this model of farming, one that views life's multiple dimensions as connected and interacting, has multiple benefits beyond productivity. It not only avoids negative and unsustainable environmental and health impacts of the industrial model, but also contributes to addressing climate change. It both reduces emissions relative to the industrial model, and increases carbon absorption. Okay, myth number 5. We have to choose between greater fairness and more production. Our response: justice and production are not competing, but complementary goals. On average, small farms in the global south produce more per acre. They often use land efficiency by integrating diverse crops as well as livestock or fish, which are typically fed crop residues and produce waste that can be used as fertilizer. Such integrated systems can also yield greater nutrition compared to single crop systems. Small agroecological Small agroecological farms are also commonly more energy efficient and use little fossil fuel. By contrast, capital intensive U.S. agriculture, characterized by large farms, uses 7 to 10 units of primary fossil energy to produce just 1 unit of food energy. Greater gender equality also increases productivity. In the global south, women are responsible for growing 60 to 80% of the food, yet few own the land, and worldwide, women receive only about 5% of agricultural extension services. If women had the same access to productive resources as men, their agricultural yields could increase by 20 to 30%. The total additional food produced could feed as many as 150 million people. The only path to increase production that can end hunger is one in which those who do the work gain a greater say and the greater reward. Myth number 6. The free market can end hunger. A free market is all we need formula blinds us from seeing that a well-functioning market is impossible without democratic government, and that food is more than a commodity. In fact, most nations have declared access to adequate food a human right, and the fulfillment of any right cannot logically be left entirely at the mercy of market exchange. Since food is both necessary to life and a market commodity, the only way this can be realized is for governments to ensure that every person has the means to secure enough healthy food, and if unable to work, has access to dignified public support. This is something we're battling right now. Robin, thank you for the galaxies and the hot dogs. Thank you. Robin's over here on Favorited. We're streaming on Favorited right now too. Robin, thank you. But yeah, this is a major thing. Let me tell you how much we are regressing. This article was written in 2015. We should be doing better 10 years later. And we are in fact doing worse. So something needs to change. The market serves human freedom only on one condition: that people have purchasing power to express their values in the market. Thus, freedom expands as societies set rules, ensuring that wealth circulates widely and fairly. Unfortunately, we've not protected our freedom from what Supreme Court Justice William Douglas called the curse of bigness that kills a fair market. Oligopolies, that's a big word. Oligopolies, almost as destructive as monopolies, exist when a handful of companies control a huge market share. From grain trade to the store shelf, that's what we now see. 4 companies control as much as 90% of the world's grain trade. Such private monopoly power kills competition and generates hunger from plenty. Worst of all, concentrated private power usurps public decision-making, so government policies increasingly benefit the elite minority. Thus, removing the power of private wealth in politics is not a separate concern. It is essential to ending hunger. I feel decisions will be made when it's too late. I know. Well, decisions aren't gonna be made until either we're able to flip everything again and get, some Democrats back in the office. But unfortunately, this is happening under Democrats as well. Monsanto, if you look at I don't even know, has the FDA been disbanded yet? But if you look at places like the USDA, FDA, a lot of them hold ex-Monsanto employees, which is fucking terrifying. Forgot I had coins here. No, that's awesome, Robin. Thank you. They're, and it's horrible. Monsanto is like the worst fucking thing for food. And they're integrated into the government. So that's why doing things like Heathrow's doing is so important, because even the big farms that don't associate with Monsanto suffer. There was like I was watching a documentary where there was a farmer who did not associate with Monsanto. So with Monsanto, it's illegal to save seeds. They want you buying fresh seeds every year for your crops, right? Of course, they want to sell you seeds every year. They don't want you saving seeds. So if you are a Monsanto farm, and like look it up and see how many farms out there are Monsanto controlled, or if you look at farms that are controlled by Tyson, Foster Farms, all of that like cheap ass chicken, horrible fucking conditions for farmers. A lot of the farmers are going fucking bankrupt because they're mistreated. They make these contracts with these companies and then they're not treated well and they're going broke. They're in debt to these companies, like with so much money. But there was a farmer that was like, I'm not playing the Monsanto game. But because he was, surrounded by Monsanto farms, he got sued for saving his seeds because the wind blows. The wind blows. It's like the dandelion. Think of the dandelion when it's not in its flower form and it's got the I don't know what those little things are called, the little shoots that you can blow them and they fly everywhere. Think of that. So you've got a Monsanto farm that's next to a non-Monsanto farm. So it's impossible for some of that to not have blow over into the non-Monsanto farm, right? And so he got sued, even though he doesn't associate with them, because the fucking wind blows. He got sued by Monsanto. And I think they hold like 95% of the, I don't know if it's the US or the world, I can't remember, but the soy, it's insane. Okay, myth number 7, free trade is the answer. Our response: the notion that trade freed from government meddling will help reduce hunger is grounded in the theory that every country can benefit from its comparative advantage, each exporting what it can produce most cheaply and importing what it cannot. So countries with hunger and poverty can increase exports of commodities best suited to their geography. Then, with greater foreign exchange earnings, they can import food and other essentials to alleviate hunger and poverty. But if such is the outcome of increasing exports, why in so many countries have exports boomed while hunger and poverty have continued or even worsened? One answer is simply that those profiting from exports typically are large growers, international trading companies, foreign investors, and others who have no incentive to use their profits to benefit hungry people. Plus, all too often, export crops displace food crops as well as small-scale farmers who are the majority of hungry people worldwide. Only as all citizens achieve a more equitable voice in control of their nation's resources can trade benefit the poor and hungry. Where's the doom and gloom emoji? I know. When I get monetized over here, I can start using emotes. I can't wait. Okay, myth number 8. U.S. foreign aid is the best way we can help the hungry. Our response: ending hunger requires profound changes that enable people who have been made powerless to gain a voice in their own futures. But much of U.S. government aid goes to the nations whose economic and political elites are likely to feel threatened by such changes. Also, it's stapled right on the word. Also, making it difficult for U.S. foreign aid to help the hungry is that, not surprisingly, aid is a tool of foreign policy. Remember that foreign assistance is not charity, it is a strategic imperative for America, noted Secretary of State Kerry in 2013, echoing his predecessors. Thus, much depends on how policymakers choose to define the national interest. In the aftermath of 9/11, the global war on terror has become the centerpiece of U.S. foreign policy, reflected in the concentration of U.S. country-specific economic aid. The top 5 recipients garnering more than 1/3 of such U.S. aid are Afghanistan, Pakistan, Ethiopia, Jordan, and Iraq. Now, again, this was 10 years ago, so that might have changed by now, but you might be thinking that surely one aspect of U.S. assistance, food aid, helps the hungry. Since the program's inception of 1954, U.S. food aid has been predominantly tied aid, meaning the food must be grown, processed, and packaged in the United States and shipped overseas on U.S. flagged vessels. This typing of food aid thus benefits private U.S. interests and makes food shipments more costly and much slower. Hardly what's needed in emergencies. European and other important donor nations have untied their food aid. There are, however, 2 especially powerful ways that we can help: removing obstacles placed in the way of hungry people by policies of our governments and activities of multinational corporations, and seizing the power of positive examples by democratizing our own societies to end hunger. Myth number 9: it's not our problem. While the extent and severity of hunger differ greatly between the global north and the global south, there are power parallels and interconnections. Exploring them, we've come to see that our well-being and that of future generations depend on how deeply we grasp this commonality and whether we make choices based on that understanding. The extent of hunger, poverty, and extreme inequalities in the U.S. violates much of what Americans want to believe. Ranked by infant death rate, widely understood to reflect the society's food insecurity and poverty, the U.S. places 56th globally, just behind Serbia and Lithuania. Inequality in the U.S. is even more extreme than in India, Liberia, and Yemen. In the U.S., consumers are often told, sometimes not too subtly, that they benefit from imported goods made affordable by the very fact of lower wages over there. But this benefit is illusory. What a weird word. As we register the many thousands of good jobs lost here and the downward pressure of wages and benefits in the U.S. that are hidden in the perception of cheap goods. Globalizing corporations in effect require workers to compete with their counterparts in countries that keep wages low by suppressing unions and failing to uphold safety and environmental standards. Exploring the common challenges and needs of majorities in both North and South, it's vitally important to weigh not just what one's own society has achieved, but also the direction it's headed. So we must ask, are we moving toward assuring that everyone can enjoy the basic essentials of human dignity, or are we moving toward the life-stunting conditions associated with hungry countries? Okay, last one, myth number 10. Power is too concentrated for real change. It's too late. It's certainly no myth that economic power is concentrated in the hands of a few and that it translates into political power. Indeed, in the eyes of some, we're returning to feudalism, but in corporate form. So let's talk about how did feudalism end. People stopped believing in it. Could we be in such a moment in which people the world over stop believing in the economic and political structures that make so many feel powerless? Certainly. Transformational change is underway. Is it though? As regulators rethink their own power, more and more people are discovering that the capacity to act is not fixed. It grows and shrinks in response to our own creativity, insight, fortitude, knowledge, capacity to empathize, desire, connection to others, and more. Power is so much more than money and guns. Our own motivation is strengthened also by the realization that in an interconnected world, we can be sure that our every act has power. This is true. So we do have a lot more power than we allow ourselves. So again, I think that's our only way out of this, because they're not going to do anything. Grasping these truths, we realize it is simply not possible to know what's possible. We can each count the numerous occasions in which what most people assume to be impossible actually happened. In such time, courage is key. To be part of the solutions means being willing to take risks, including challenging oneself and others to rethink ideas so taken for granted as to be like the air we breathe. We can seek out and draw lessons from the courage of those the world over, many who might appear powerless, together building democratic solutions to needless suffering, creating life-supporting societies. And those are the 10 myths. It's scary, so scary how relevant all of that is still today, how much we are still fighting for this, and how much it is less and less, like, not less and less, but like more and more inevitable that there is the doom and gloom. So again, it comes back to us. Like, we need to do more. We need to be like Heathrow. Hello. We all need to grow a garden. But seriously. So, and that was Liz. I don't know if you saw the first one, but the first one talked about how it's not too little food and not too many people, kind of what we were talking about the other day. Yeah, it's just the food is mismanaged. That's the problem. That's the problem that we run into. So, all right. Any questions? And I'm going to eat some food because I'm hungry, but I will be taking pictures of this and putting it in the Discord. And then this live stream will also be up in a bit. Okay, bye. Thank you. I appreciate you. Go ahead and give me a subscribe. Give me a subscribe. I'm trying to build those subscribers on here, so give me a subscribe. I don't know. I kind of was like, I don't know. Sorry, hopping topics. I wasn't sure how I felt about this shirt, but I actually don't hate it. I kind of like it. You're welcome, Alicia. So yeah, this will be in the Discord. This video will be up on in a little bit after it processes and I make a title card for it and everything. We've got another minute to spare. So any questions, comments, concerns? Of course, no problem. And then tomorrow we'll do the other one because we remember we had vote. I found them. They fell behind the fridge. That's why I couldn't find them. So tomorrow we'll do the other one, the social justice theory and practice, community agreements. We'll do that one tomorrow, and then we'll just we'll take a look at what else there is available, and see what to do next. I will rewatch. I'm a bit scattered today. No, that's totally okay. I'm sure you're going through restructuring over there, a chaotic one. So I'm sure. Okay, we've hit 30 minutes. I'm gonna get off of here. I've got some shit I gotta do and I gotta eat, and I want to try to have everything done by 3 so we can go to the beach. So watch the Discord. I will post what time exactly we're gonna go to the beach. But as long as everything stays as it is, it's pretty nice outside right now. We'll go to the beach at about 3 o'clock Pacific time. So okay. All right, everybody. YouTube, favorited, thanks for hanging out. I will see you guys tomorrow for another educational day. Oops. Thank you, Liz. All right, I'll see you guys later.